thank you. I know not all of you are kind of engaged with me on Facebook, but I know a lot of you are. And I just want to say thank you so much. Thank you so much for the wonderful treatment yesterday, the kind words, and then the financial support for Mindful Memorial Foundation. Man, like I had to raise the goal 4 times, and then we raised more than the goal. We raised almost $2,300, and I just can't thank everyone enough. It's just a really special day. Yesterday was a new beginning of sorts. I was born on my mother's birthday, and so all my life I have shared my birthday with her. And I remember being in Iraq and calling her on our birthday. And I remember being in our fob, and I remember, using one of those calling cards, and I just remember calling her. And we always shared that. And so now we don't. We do, but we don't. And so it's a little bit sad. So thanks for all the goodwill yesterday. It meant a lot. It's cool. So today we're looking at this week's kind of theme. I know I throw a lot of shit at you guys. Thanks for putting up with it. But the theme is try to this week, so we don't study mindfulness to relax. We study mindfulness to be the best version of ourselves. And so every week I try to have a kind of a thing to kind of think about, because life is so big, and how do you break it down? So every week I try to have a thing to think about that you in your life can apply the training to. And this week is a strategy for joy. And the reason why I've created a strategy, I put out a strategy for joy, is because, if you're not interacting with joy on a regular basis, you just forget what it does to the soul, and what it does to your spirit, and what it does to your motivation. And it just lifts. It lifts. And then from that lifted place, you can be the better version of yourself. You can put yourself out there. You can move into a place that you might not have felt like you could move in before. And so yesterday we talked about just creating joy. And for a warrior, right? For a warrior, how does a warrior create joy? It's warfare. It's battle. It's violence. It's competition. It's guns. It's extremes. It's edges, right? And that's who this conversation is pointed at. It's pointed at you, right? It's pointed at you because you're a warrior, right? So when you want to cultivate joy, go do the things that you freaking love to do. So that was yesterday. Well, today is power and politics. And when it comes to power and politics, we have to acknowledge the fact that everyone has different levels of power. And I'll talk a little bit about that. But I also want to talk about the fact that regardless of what level of power you're at inside of American society, your capacity to facilitate joy in others is still there. So that's what today is kind of the talk about, is interacting with others, and what you, with power, because all of us have some power, what you can do with your power to help facilitate joy in others. So while all of us have some power, most of us have different layers of power. And the hierarchy of power in the United States is me. Okay, so I am a white male, upper middle class. Both parents were married. Both parents stayed together. I'm college educated. I have about 150 safety nets. When I fuck up, I don't fall far. I have power in the face of the police. When it comes to my behavior, I have all kinds of leeway where people of color do not. I remember, I remember getting, I remember being in a situation where I had to get to. It was right after Iraq, and I'm a cliche, right? I'm just a cliche, and this, I mean, remember this one thing: you train with me to make me obsolete, right? Make me obsolete. I'm good for a little bit, but get to the point where you're like, yeah, I don't work with Ben anymore. I'm over it. He's doing some rudimentary shit. I'm more involved than Ben. So please step all over my training onto the best version of yourself, and don't look back. Right. So anyway, so I came back from Iraq, and I was a cliche. I got a motorcycle, riding around thinking I'm the shit. Da, 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 da. I mean, you want to talk about privilege? How about white privilege on top of coming home from war with a Purple Heart privilege? Do whatever I wanted, really, when I did. So I've got my motorcycle, and I'm sitting around at my apartment, and I've got a personal training client, and for whatever reason I didn't have it in my schedule or whatever, but I noticed that I was late. So I ran downstairs to hop on my motorcycle, and I realized I didn't have my wallet. I didn't have my cell phone. I didn't have any of my shit. I had the keys. So I was just like, screw it. It was a half an hour training, so it wasn't big. It was 2 minutes away from the house. I just jump on the bike, drive there, be done with it. So I jump on the bike, and I'm wearing like silkies, which are these little shorts, right? They're little shorts that only badass men wear, you know? And so I'm wearing silkies, and I'm wearing like a cut off shirt. And I mean, I look like an idiot. I'm on a motorcycle. I'm wearing almost no protection. I got my helmet on, but I have no wallet. I have no phone. I got nothing. So I'm driving my motorcycle, and I go to this place where there's a four-way stop, and the car in front of me is going through the four-way stop. So I'm like, I'll just get on. I'll just kind of, instead of stopping myself, I got up on the side. So here's the car going through. I scooted up on the side and just went through with that car. Didn't stop. Whoop, whoop. Cop was sitting right there. Cop pulls me over. And it's in front of a very busy intersection in an area called Chevy Chase, Maryland. And this area is a very, very affluent area, and lots and lots of different people, lots of white people, lots and lots of just people in general, but it's a very affluent area. The officer that pulled me over is African American. So he pulls me over. I pull the bike over. I stand on the curb, and he starts asking me for my identification. And I said, officer, and I'm right out of the military, so I know exactly how to interact with authority. I know exactly how to do it. So I say to the officer, I said, officer, I have no information on me. I have nothing. And he's like, well, that's a problem. And I said, I understand. And I tell him my story, and he's like, well, I'm going to have to check all your stuff out. So I don't have any identification, and I have no cell phone. I am completely without anything. So the officer asks me for my social security number, and then he goes into the car to go run the information. So here's the cop car, here's me standing. So I know what happens when I stand at absolute stillness, parade rest, face blank. It's a by design, it is a powerful position. So anyway, I got in my parade rest. I got in parade rest and just stood there locked up tight. And after about 2 or 3 minutes, people started looking at me. And I remember the officer getting out of the car and being like, you military? And I said, roger that. And he said, all right, why don't you come sit in the car with me? And so I remember he got uncomfortable with me standing there in parade rest, and he allowed me back into the car, and we sat in the car, and he ended up going through the information, and I wasn't arrogant or a dick or anything. I was just very, very respectful and followed the rules. But he was like, all right, cool. We validated who you are. You're good. Don't do that again. He let me go. I mean, that's as privileged as it comes, right? So I know I have privilege. I have a different kind of privilege. Um, anyway, regardless of that, the fact that we have privilege and we have the ability to do different things is the point of this conversation. And so the way we interact with others, I think, in terms of our power and our power to be helpful to others, exists on three levels. And so where you fit in, where you understand your privilege and power exists, is where you can participate in using your power for joy. Okay? So at the first level, I'll break the levels down like this. There's three levels. There's the mind, there's the body, and then there's the spiritual level. So your power can be used to create joy in someone else's mind, basically by facilitating understanding and expectation, right? So an understanding of maybe a moment or where that person came from or whatever facilitates in that person a belief or an expectation that you could be an ally for them into the future. So in the realm of the mind, you can use your power for joy, especially if you're someone who's like me. Take the time to learn about stuff. Take the time to learn about the things that are really, really fucked up that are just in plain sight. Like, for example, if you go into Target and you look at hairstyles and you look at hair products and you look at beauty products, white people's beauty products are in the beauty section, okay? Non-white people's products for the same thing, hair, makeup, all that kind of stuff, is in the ethnic section. One's beauty, one's ethnic. That's in plain sight. You go to Target right now. That's number one. So that's some shit, right? So, I mean, having that awareness, and then being in a conversation and not looking like a deer in headlights when someone brings that up and you're just like, being a part of that and being like, yes, I've seen that too. Like, that's just, so in the realm of the mind, you can use your power for joy to just have understanding, right? Some understanding, and that creates expectation. And that's kind of a fundamental of joy, right? There's, like, for example, when I was doing the whitewater rafting, right? Something I was deeply connected to, and it's something I could do again. So in the realm of my mind was just like, yes. So when you think about how you can use your power for joy in the realm of the mind, think about that. What can I learn from the past that facilitates expectation in the future? It gives someone a sense of ease, right? You can't give joy if the other person feels armored up. They got to armor down. You've got to armor down to feel joy first. So that's what you do with the mind. It's also what we do first bell. So you got to armor down. So that's really helpful. Second way you can, use your power for joy is physically. Okay. And so the physical aspect of using your power for joy is what's in the present moment, right? So when it comes to the physical, the body, second bell, what can you do? What can you do? And that's really in the moment. It's very much in the moment. It's a shared experience in the moment. It's getting out there in the moment. It's it's just being cool. It's just being chill, not being pretentious. I don't know. I mean, inside of the moment, inside of just right now, how can you use your power for joy? And so I know, I mean, my wife hates this, but I know, I mean, my professional life is honoring fallen service members and supporting veterans through mindfulness, and my LLC is designed around giving away meditation cushions to veterans. If you're a veteran, I'll give you a meditation cushion and encourage you to practice with us every weekday. So, I interact on Facebook a lot with people, and a lot. I mean, so I guess another way to deploy joy is to listen really well, and maybe just to listen. Just to listen really well. Like I'm always surprised when I run across people who are at the earliest stages of their understanding of things, and so just kind of listening and being kind of just there, just deeply listening. I think that can bring joy in other people. And then in the spiritual side of things, okay, the spiritual side of things, how do you use your power for joy? In the spiritual side of things is, I think that's where you really got your basic understanding. So you're not ignorant. So that's number one. You're in the moment, which is, you can be yourself in the context of, being around people of color if you're white, or being around white people if you're a person of color. And I think there's just this openness, right? And this is where I think joy shows up, and it's kind of like it's a little bit like, especially in the context of now, it's a little bit like gallows humor, right? Where you're in the suck together, and you just share it with people with open-heartedness. And that's what's interesting about being at the edge, is that the edge can go either way. The edge can go into like sadness and despair, but it can also go into joy and wonder. And so, just be ready for that. Just be ready to kind of be inside that moment, and just open your heart to it. And that's one way you can use your power to share joy. I don't know. Those are my thoughts on it. But I really do encourage you today to think about how you can use your power for joy, and sharing joy. It's so worth it. It's good for you. It's good for them. So yeah. All right. Let's get to the training. I hope you're seeing how every single aspect of the training and every single aspect of my discussion around the topic all centers back around mindfulness. And there's really fundamental biology to this, which is that you can't experience joy if you're stressed out or freaked out. Like, you can get pleasure, right? But you can't get joy. Pleasure is, pleasure is is just a hit. But joy has deeper meaning, right? You have to work. You have to do the work to experience joy. So, and this is the work. All right. So settle in. We got first bell here. Sight. Maybe close your eyes. Sound. What do the corners sound like? What does your mouth feel like? What does it taste like? Temperature on skin. Temperature on skin. Study the smells that you can find in your next couple breaths. sight, sound, taste, touch, smell. Curiosity tames the mind every time. Your senses are always taking place in the present moment. Second bell. Get to the body. Feel the ground beneath you. Feel the connection. Pelvis. Core. Heart space. Throat. Top of the head. Full breath. Third bell. Breathing. Your intention changes your breath. Feel your sides move as you breathe. Feel your bottom ribs move as you breathe. Feel your chest move as you breathe. Feel your upper back move as you breathe. Feel your belly move as you breathe. Imagine your body as an umbrella, your torso as an umbrella. And when you breathe in, imagine that umbrella as your torso, opening in all directions. And as you breathe out, imagine your torso in all directions coming together. Follow your breath. Stay focused on the breath for the next 3 minutes. Use your power for joy. A couple things to remember. There's a difference between joy and pleasure. Right? There's a difference between joy and pleasure. Joy has a sustaining quality. It's got past, it's got future, it's got a connection to larger things. In the realms of mind, body, and spirit, you can use your power for joy, whether you have a ton of power like me, or you have less power because you're a person of color. We still have the basics. We still have a heart that's capable of unbelievable power in the form of compassion. We have minds that are capable of thinking into the past, into the future, and imagining anything. We have physical bodies. We have physical bodies that take the external world and turn it into a lived experience. And so while our levels of power are different, our capacity for good and sharing our power in whatever way we can to help bring joy in others is what unites us. Thank you, Armour Down. See you tomorrow.